no student is, in the words of Bush, left behind.
Oh my god. Ervin Baccay.
Hello.
Thank you for letting me
That is
stop
me.
by. And
No problem.
Welcome
No
to the
problem.
conversation. So, this is Cal Convos, so I opened up with welcome to the conversation.
Okay.
So, all right. So, tell us about yourself a little bit.
Okay. I am a fourth year Cal student.
Old boy.
I know, I'm an old boy. Double majoring in bioengineering and EECS.
Ooh.
And I do a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm. And we'll
Feel
get
free
into
to
it.
ask me.
For sure. All right. So, obviously you're an engineering kind of person or a major.
Yeah.
But then you also mentioned to me a lot of times that you're really interested in teaching.
Yeah.
So I feel like a lot of students or kids in COE are more towards I want to get a job at a big 5 tech company and they want to get into industry right away. So maybe not science majors, but a lot of engineering majors don't go down that teaching pathway. So how did you come to that conclusion that teaching was something you wanted to do? And was it something you kind of went into college thinking about or not at all?
I mean, I came into college, I knew that I liked teaching people, but it wasn't really a career path that I wanted to pursue going into college. I was more oh, engineering.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, but almost everybody else here for that matter. And then I got into college, took these classes, and then there's something called lab assisting here at Berkeley, where
it's a TA, UGSI kind of thing, or
not necessarily. It's a bit lower in that you're helping the TAs / GSIs with the labs. You're basically there as extra manpower to.
There's a lot of hierarchy
help
in
out.
this. Right?
Yeah, there's a lot of hierarchy.
Wow.
So it's lab assistants and then tutors and then GSIs and then instructors. So there's the very lowest level where you're just there to answer questions, help students. So I did that for a summer since I was here. I think that was summer 17. Since I was taking summer classes and I wanted to do some extra stuff.
Yeah.
Otherwise I would be bored all the time.
Yeah, just study all day.
Yeah, exactly. So I decided to become a lab assistant for the data structures class here. So
Data 8?
CS61BL actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then I did all of that and I ended up loving teaching. So then I started going through the process of applying to course staff, becoming course staff for many courses, ended up being part of course staff for 61BL, ended up being course staff for a bioengineering class, and now I'm currently course staff for Data 8.
Wow.
So I don't know, it wasn't something that I was thinking of when coming into college, but it ended up becoming a major part of my college career.
For sure. And do you think you're going to continue... First off, do you think, since you're a senior now, hopefully I don't mind asking post-college things.
Totally fine.
So
Totally fine.
Are you planning to go down the engineering pathway or more so the teaching specifically?
That's a hard question in that
is.
I really want to do both. This summer I was doing course staff for 61BL and I had an internship and it was really tough just juggling both of those things. But at the same time, I loved doing both of those things. So I don't know if that's naive of me to try and pursue both right after graduation or maybe take a chill pill and just go into industry, do industry stuff, and then go into teaching.
So you're not hard set onto
teaching
as of right now, right? But if
I'm
you
not
still
hard
love
set,
to,
but I really love teaching, and it really is something that I would love to do in the future. It changed my career plans in that, now I want to pursue a PhD, and eventually become a lecturer at an institution, and do that in the long term. But
so teaching at the university level.
Yeah, university level, specifically the university level.
Would you not be in the K through 12 kind of teaching?
I was thinking that, but I think the one thing that I loved about teaching university students is that they're here for a reason. They have a purpose for being in university, especially at a university like Cal. There aren't necessarily students that are, or at least in my experience, there aren't students that are there because they're forced to, in many, high school AP classes.
Yeah.
There's a reason, a lot of the students are in AP classes because their tiger parents forced them to be in AP classes.
Yeah.
So...
Were you one of those children of those parents, would you say, or...?
I was, until I eventually started liking the subjects I started taking. And then now they started telling me to take less AP classes.
Wait, your parents or
my parents.
Okay.
It was a very strange sensation. But anyways, yeah, so the train has left the station. Was I talking about again?
I think you were talking about So like K through 12.
Oh yeah, so K through 12, I don't want to teach them because,
Kids
like
are
I
hard.
said, kids are hard. Kids are hard, especially if they don't have like the emotional tolerance,
Yeah.
or like they're still like getting up there. But university students have a purpose, or
Mhm.
generally university students have a purpose, and it's that purpose that drives me to
Yeah.
lead them to where they want to go.
I feel like when it comes to teaching, there's a lot of things like your average student doesn't know about teaching because, like at a glance, you would think of teaching as like regurgitating the concepts onto like another person, but there's obviously a lot more to that, right?
Yeah. So one of the things that I could think about is I think the general perception that and I think this was really hard, especially in the like secondary education or primary education level, in that mostly there was only one way to teach something.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least when I was going through the primary/secondary education path, like there was only one way to teach something. And going through university, I figured out that, we're basing a lot of the performance of students on just one way, on how we teach a certain subject in only one specific way.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in university, you realize that, a lot of different students learn in a lot of different ways.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that isn't really leveraged that much, or at least when I was going through school, it wasn't really leveraged that much. I happened to be one of the lucky few that ended up, like, I knew, or how should I phrase this? Like, it so happened that the teaching style in high school or elementary school worked for me, but there are definitely students where it didn't work for them.
Yeah.
And for those students, school didn't really benefit to them. Whereas if school was taught in a completely different way that suited their interests, then it could have gone in a totally different track. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So, would you think that there could be a type of student that, like high school is like not really for them, then in college
definitely.
they flourish? What happened to the lighting?
I have no idea.
It's okay. So do you think there's everyone's different obviously, so like one person could learn the best through like the high school, like very regimented kind of curriculum, whereas someone might be more successful in the more the lighting's wacky today.
Lighting issues. Oh boy.
It's okay.
Yeah.
So whereas someone else might be more accustomed to like the rigorous aspects of college education,
definitely.
Which kind of goes against like intuition, because you think that like college is like by default harder than high school learning.
Yeah.
But what are some ways that, I don't know, like college learning is maybe like somewhat more efficient or easy or better?
I wouldn't say more efficient or even better for that.
Especially for like CS here, right? It's like incredibly efficient for like with like students of like 1,000 like classes with like 1,000 students in them, and they still maintain like the quality of like Berkeley education, let's say.
I wouldn't say that's more. I wouldn't say it's more efficient or necessarily better, but I do argue that it is different.
Yeah.
And whether or not it's better is definitely up for debate.
Yeah.
So, personally, I really like it. I know students, however, who don't really like it. Yeah. Since, like you said, there are thousands of students, and even CS61A is like enrollment size is 2,000.
Oh, for real?
2,500.
It gets to like that.
Yeah,
bigger?
it's massive.
Wow.
It's massive, and the logistic wise, it's. Well, quite frankly, it's a pain in the ass to teach 2,200 students the amount of information we have at the quality that we want. So that's why we use a lot of resources, or online resources here in Berkeley. For example, all the lectures are webcasted, all of the assignments are online.
There's a whole website dedicated.
Exactly, there's a whole website dedicated for just that class. In fact, there's a website dedicated for A, B, C.
I wish my chem classes had websites.
I know, same. Like going through all the other classes, for example, my bioengineering classes,
you have to go lecture, actually. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And like, personally, I like learning at my own pace, in that since lectures are webcasted, if I don't understand a topic, I could just immediately go back. Whereas if I'm in lecture with like 200 other students in a math class, I can't really rewind lecture. Or if I do ask a question, then it just, or at least for me, I feel like it holds lecture back in that, we're stopping for this one question that only benefits me. I mean, it might benefit a few other students, but in general, we have a really tight time frame to like return information. And if the professor is ill-equipped to accommodate questions, then some of that information is lost. Yeah. So, yeah, personally for me, I like the online community better, but there are definitely pros and cons to that.
Yeah. I mean, like, with with like classes sizes of like 1,000 to like 2,000 people. There's like a little bit onto another topic, but like I would probably expect there'd be like a lot of like non-CS majors even in that 61A class, for example.
Yeah, and there's actually a lot of non-CS major enrollment in 61A and even 61B in Data 8.
Maybe even some like non-STEM.
Yeah, even non-STEM actually.
Yeah.
I've known
humanities.
not humanitarian. Humanities majors take CS 61A and ended up loving it. Like my roommate from freshman year, he was originally going to be political science, took 61A, took 61B, took CS 70, and now he's a CS major.
Wow.
So
it all comes full circle.
comes full circle.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So like, do you think that conversion from like another major to CS like happens really that often at Berkeley specifically, or is it just the way that like CS is just so in demand that like people are able to like?
Honestly, it's hard to say. One is that there is the pressure from parents and from, well, making money in general to like go into the CS field. And I don't exactly agree with going into CS, like, just because it makes money.
Yeah, I often, like, hear people call CS the sellout major.
Exactly,
which is, like, true to an extent.
To an extent, yes, it is true. For, like, I also know people at Berkeley who pursue CS just for the sake of making, like, 6 figs right after graduation.
Yeah.
And it's even become a meme, a cultural phenomenon here at Berkeley.
Yeah, or, like, across college in general.
Yeah, or even across colleges in general. Yeah,
I was actually thinking of something. Do you think a lot of like these memes and stereotypes at Berkeley are often just because we think that it happens at Berkeley only, and like they actually like happen like nationwide and other colleges? Like I remember like one of my friends who's also a freshman, like one of my friends, he says that a lot of his friends right now are complaining about class sizes are so big, like professors don't know what they're teaching, and then he says that like but like that happens everywhere, not just Berkeley, and so he's kind of frustrated that like everyone's like kind of blaming all their problems on like Berkeley as like an institution where in fact it's like a college thing, right?
Yeah, so when I was a freshman I actually thought that it was specifically Berkeley thing.
Yeah.
But like talking to all of my other friends, like you said, it's actually not just a Berkeley thing.
Yeah, like
it's,
like UCs in general.
Exactly, it's a cultural phenomenon, which is very interesting to me in that there's this major push, not only in the Bay Area where Silicon Valley is heart of Silicon Valley, heart of tech in general, but across the nation where that every student is somewhat pressured to go into CS. And I don't know if that's biased of me because I live in the Bay Area, because I live in Berkeley, but like browsing through Reddit, going through all that stuff, that seems to be the perception right now. And of course it's a biased view, but from what I can see, that's what's happening.
Yeah. There's actually during my first episode of this like series, actually I talked to someone who graduated from CS this past year. And he actually said like something really interesting where that a lot of the reason why like CS isn't running out of demand right now is because literally every company you can think of can access CS and they can attract like some CS work. Like Yelp is like a food app. It has nothing to do with tech directly, but someone has to maintain the app, someone has to maintain the website, and so they need people from CS backgrounds, and so that's why he says that CS isn't so much demand.
That makes sense. And in this world where we're slowly like converting everything into like the tech stack, for example, like the one big thing that I see is like video games.
Yeah, so and your whole room as a whole is like kind of like tech.
Yeah, exactly. Like my lights are controlled by fucking Google. So like there's this just, or at least in the Bay Area, like I said, I don't know, I have a biased view, but like at least here there's a giant push to convert everything to run on the cloud or like run electronically.
Or like even like Kiwi bots everywhere.
Exactly, like food delivery, at least in Berkeley and Stanford, and even UCLA, I think.
I even saw like today like on like the news that like Purdue was like launching their own.
Oh, even Purdue,
Kiwi bot copy.
Exactly. So it's just this giant push for like automation. Yeah. And for essentially like phasing out inconvenience. And I think like for example the inconvenience of standing up and flicking a light off. Yeah. Why do that when you could just say Google turn off the lights, right? So I mean you have to say a specific keyword.
Cool.
So.
Okay, so we like actually launch anything by accident.
Yeah, sometimes I'm really worried about that too. Like I'm just memeing and then suddenly Google's just said something like, whoa, that's creepy. Like yeah.
Do you think it's like there's like a bad side of that, like everything, all our inconveniences going away?
I mean, there's always a bad thing or a con, and off the top of my head, I can't really think of any, but they're definitely there.
I mean, like I guess off the top of my head, if like all your inconveniences are taken care of, then I guess your capacity to do like more like strenuous like things that like can't be automated, like I don't know, your homework said.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Your willpower, like, I mean that's like a very like very like big like stretch. Obviously, like there's not a direct correlation between like using like AI to turn on lights versus like having willpower to do stuff. But there is like that aspect of willpower,
like a push to making people more lazy, essentially.
Yeah. Essentially. So
I understand that. Yeah. In that case, yeah, that's one of the cons.
Yeah, I guess that's one con.
But again, there's also pros to doing this.
There is.
You can't necessarily like dismiss like the advance of technology just because of the cons presented. You have to look at the bright side of things too, but essentially hold them in equal regard. And that's really hard for, well, not just me, but people in general to try to balance out.
Especially a lot of older generations.
Exactly,
like,
yeah.
A lot of like boomers are like, oh, you millennials are getting too lazy to like toast bread or something. I don't know.
Just that general sentiment. Like, my dad just downloaded Venmo, and he complained all the time about downloading Venmo, and now he loves using it.
Yeah, my dad
so
actually
really
like
interesting.
Actually, when I'm gonna go home for like the holidays, I live really close by. Like I live like 40 minutes away from here, like my hometown. And my dad was like, oh, just take an Uber. And it was like, that's really interesting, right? Cause,
yeah, it's very interesting.
Because obviously, like, he does want to see me, but then, like, because usually, like, your family comes to pick you up with a car, but then, I don't know, it was, like, kind of, like, an interesting
Yeah,
moment.
It was very interesting in that it's depersonalized.
Yeah.
That's very interesting to me, yeah. And it's interesting to see, like, how far automation can go. Like, we're getting to the point where we're getting to self-driving cars.
We've already gone there, actually.
Actually, yeah,
we've already gotten there.
Yeah, like, Lyft in Chicago, at least, have been deploying, like, self-driving cars where a Lyft picks you up and there's, like, nobody there, which is really interesting. But it's interesting to see also where the human aspect goes.
Yeah.
As in, like, as we drive further towards automation, is there going to be any room for, like, any emotional side? And I feel like there will be. It's just we can't necessarily see it now since we're limited by our own view of the present.
I remember, like, during the Super Bowl commercials this year, which, by the way, like, the Super Bowl, like, the last one was like, absolute garbage. Because for my AP Lang class, we had to study the Super Bowl commercials, which was a cool assignment, but, like, actually, like, leading up to that Super Bowl, where, like, my teacher was saying that, oh, a lot of the ones in the past were, like, focused on, a lot of the commercials in the past were focused on a lot of social issues, like, like, social issues and, like, stuff like that. But, like, this most recent Super Bowl, a lot of the commercials were, like, related to AI, like, for some reason.
Interesting.
Like, there was a ton of, like, obviously they're, like, exaggerated. They weren't, like, a lot of them were just, like, robots, like being, like crappy and then like failing to, so they'll like have like a robot trying to like do like some like service and then like they fail and then like the actual like company that does that service will be like, oh, we do it better than those AI bots or whatever.
Interesting.
And so there was like a solid like 5 commercials that were like AI themed.
Interesting.
It was like so like it was so surreal because for our class we were like ready for like a lot of like domestic violence commercials, a lot of like product placement stuff, but like there was so much AI like commercial, there were so many AI commercials. It was like I think people are starting to like catch up on AI, which is really strange because usually like you don't expect these big companies to be like that tech savvy.
Exactly.
And now like AI is like in commercials. It's like so weird.
Yeah, it's starting to become more mainstream, which is really interesting coming from like a Bay Area perspective, and that it's like this next gen thing.
It's like a subculture.
Yeah,
but now it's like broadcast on national television.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's really interesting to say the least.
Yeah. I mean, did you see those commercials or?
No, I didn't. I don't even remember what I was doing for the last Super Bowl.
No, honestly, like this. I don't watch football that much either, but I just watched this year's just for the sake of that assignment.
Yeah.
And it was like so stalematey, and like the commercials weren't that great.
Yeah.
I mean, the AI ones were like really interesting to watch, and like, oh shit, they're like playing AI commercials.
Yeah.
But other than that, it was just like, actually our like AP Lang class was like pretty interesting because our teacher took a lot more like modern twists, like she would like or so like for example like watching a Super Bowl and like analyzing like rhetoric from those commercials, and also like watching TED Talks and analyzing like the rhetoric and stereotypes that are presented there. So I mean if you want to go all the way back to like teaching, I'm gonna try to connect it somehow.
Yeah, sure. Go.
So I remember like my like, AP Lang teacher just does all of those like more like tries to like connect more modern stuff to things. But I remember this like CS YouTuber that says that a lot of times teachers like will try to like make their curriculum most up to date, and like that sometimes they'll fail. And he like even says that like like whatever you're teaching as a curriculum in school shouldn't be the most up to date, like as far as like being like with like culture and stuff like that. So because whatever like the new thing is, it's gonna be like way beyond whatever you're trying to like teach in like the modern curriculum.
I feel like that has merit in that I believe where it fails, I think what happens is that they try to replace their old curriculum for the sake of a new curriculum.
Like we're like up to date with like all the new.
Yeah, but for the sake of being up to date, not necessarily
exactly.
for the sake of teaching. But if we get to like teaching itself, it's 33 by the way.
Okay, we're still going.
Gotcha, fam. But like, if you have to sacrifice like teaching material just for the sake of being up to date, then of course don't go.
So actually in that same class, we actually like talked about toxic masculinity, and obviously some of the guys weren't like comfortable with like exposing like the faults with masculinity, and so it low-key became a meme, which is kind of sad because like toxic masculinity is like an actual like harmful issue.
Yes.
But then like people like we would like spend like it was a very divisive issue within our class because a lot of the guys who are more like aligned with like traditional masculinity would like treat it as like a meme, and so that's like I feel like something so personal like toxic masculinity should be something you should explore on your own rather than in like a classroom setting, if you like know what I mean.
I do understand what you mean, but in a sense you also want to like there is a valuable learning experience in being uncomfortable. So just by being uncomfortable, you're going through the thought process of, as long as they connect the fact that, they're uncomfortable because of this new topic, then I believe that becomes a valuable education experience. But if that uncomfortability turns into like, denial, then that's where
just sort of denied. Like,
yeah, exactly. And then you get to the point where it starts turning into a meme, and that's really bad.
Because people will be like, they like toxic masculinity out of school, like at least among like the AP Lang students became like a kind of like a meme where like toxic masculinity, like you know how like lowercase uppercase goes. And so it was kind of, I mean that part kind of failed, kind of backfired I guess, but honestly it was still a pretty cool class because even though what she was teaching wasn't like directly related to the AP exam, like you wouldn't find toxic masculinity directly in the AP exam. It was still cool,
but
like,
it is still a good learning opportunity. Yeah. And the fact that we're talking about like a modern topic and applying that to the context of AP Lang or Ling, I don't remember.
Lang, it is Lang.
Lang, okay. In the context of AP Lang, then I feel like that's a good thing. Critical thinking always goes a very far way, no matter what subject you are. So I feel like it's really good.
Do you ever think that maybe going from high school to Berkeley, those like sensitive topics are like easier or harder to like talk around like such a wide array of people at Berkeley, like things like toxic masculinity, like feminism, like more like like race, those more emotionally sensitive topics. Do you find it easier to like talk about like as you would back home, or because as you know like Berkeley is kind of like a more like politically sensitive place, and so obviously some topics could be easier or harder to talk about?
Some topics definitely are easier and harder to talk about. I was definitely, I wouldn't say uncomfortable, but it was something new to me, talking about certain topics. For example, introducing your pronouns. That was something completely new to me when I came into Berkeley.
Because during my first hall like meeting in my dorm, whenever somebody already like said like say your name, say your pronouns and whatever, and so a lot of people would kind of like so there's obviously like we're obviously freshmen, it's our first time being introduced to pronouns, so some of them kind of laughed at it, which is like obviously like it's our first time having to use pronouns as our self-introduction. So and she had to like remind us that like because all of us were like the same as our pronouns gender wise, but then she had to remind us that like some people might not be like, some people like value their pronouns, so that's something that like was like new to me coming to Berkeley.
And I think the reason why people laughed is the fact that they were uncomfortable, that it was like something different for them. But being in Berkeley for 3 years now, it's actually become second nature. And a lot of the things that I used to think were funny, and a lot of the ways that I used to talk with friends has actually vastly changed since coming to Berkeley.
Like going back home, or?
Yeah, both, like here in Berkeley and even going back home. And I don't know if that's a maturity thing or the fact that I lived in such an environment, but there has definitely been changes because of the environment here in Berkeley.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, now I'm more cognizant of pronouns, I'm more cognizant of internal bias, things like that.
Yeah.
So, like, catching myself say him more than her, or his rather than
those
her.
kind of things.
So those kinds of things, you're definitely more cognizant about, since you're in that environment for such a large portion of your life.
Do you think, like, obviously those changes are for the better or for the worse, depending on how you feel it, because some people, obviously being more aware of, like, other people's identities, gender-wise, is a good thing. But then there's always those people that are like, oh, you snowflakes, like, get over it, that kind of shit.
Yeah, so, like, my dad's definitely on the snowflake camp.
Oh, like he's against the snowflake, or he is a... I'm not calling
him a snowflake. No, but like, he is like more conservative leaning, so he doesn't necessarily understand why we would need to do like this as well. But there is definitely, like, even from a pedagogical standpoint, in an education standpoint, I'll bring it back.
Hey, full circle, baby.
But yeah, even from a pedagogical standpoint, like, just noticing these things makes it like a better environment for teaching. For example, the students who don't necessarily identify with traditional gender roles start to feel more isolated and disconnected from the things that they're learning, because we're talking about this in a specific mindset that is normal, and they don't feel normal. Therefore, they start disconnecting from the class itself. But having this diversity, having this inclusivity even, starts to make it such that no student is, in the words of Bush, left behind.
Oh my god. I watched those Bushisms compilations, and they're the best thing ever. My favorite Bushism is our enemies will never find ways to harm us, and neither do we. God bless Bush.
God bless Bush. Oh my god.
I actually speaking of bushes, I also remember the Jeb Bush meme where it was like,
oh yeah, please
clap. I think someone even I think someone in my school made that their yearbook quote. Please clap.
Oh, that's so good.
So good.
I just also love how he made his political quote Jeb with an exclamation. Jeb. Oh, those were good times. The 2016 elections were wild.
They were a show.
We're truly in the dankest timeline.
Holy shit. I know, right?
Anyways. This is going somewhere. Yeah, this is going somewhere.
That was a nice sidetrack. The best alternate timeline.
But yes, inclusivity.
Yeah, it's good.
It's good.
Oh, I see your stunt folder thing.
Oh yeah, this pregame.
Yeah, so in case y'all didn't know, wait, I think my storage right now. No. It is recording again.
Okay, we're back.
Okay, so we had to take a break because my iPhone ran out of storage, and so Ervin's angle was not showing for the past 4 minutes, however long it was done.
Oh
but I deleted a really long clip, so that's all good.
Yeah.
And so we're on marching band.
Oh, marching.
Yeah.
How band.
So yeah, we can talk about that for a little bit. So
what do you need?
So we see your stunt folders.
Want stunt sheet?
Huh?
Here's a pregame.
Thanks. Oh, pregame?
Yeah. All the stuff we do right before a football game.
Yeah. So, what got you to join your senior year marching band?
Ooh, so this is an interesting story. So I was supposed to join my sophomore year, but I was doing a lot of things my sophomore year. So essentially, I was a orientation leader, and the training for orientation actually overlapped with FTP, which is our fall training program. And fall training program is, by all intents and purposes, mandatory.
Yeah.
And because I couldn't make it to FTP, then I couldn't necessarily join.
Yeah, so you only did it last year, right?
Yeah, and then last year I just completely forgot because there was a lot of things going on in
so
my
it was
life.
2 years ago?
Yeah, so 2 years ago, my
Okay,
sophomore
gotcha,
year.
gotcha.
Yeah, so that's when I was supposed to join, and then junior year, I just kind of forgot.
Yeah.
So that's my bad.
That's okay.
And then my senior year, I was like, you know what? I always wanted to join Cal Band.
Mm-hmm.
I tried joining Cal Band, didn't necessarily make it. I mean, for the GBO reasons. And I thought, you know what? It's my last year in college. I don't give a fuck anymore.
Yay.
So I ended up joining Cal Band.
Yeah.
And here I am.
We're always like going for a Glock.
Yeah, I was always going for Glock. So like I knew how to play the piano, which is why I have a piano.
Nice.
So and I didn't really necessarily know any other instruments, so Glock was definitely the way to go. Of course, I could do percussion-ish,
Hey.
kind of, but Glock was definitely my go-to. And I actually did Glock my 8th grade in middle school.
Oh, was it an 8th grade marching band?
It wasn't a marching band, but it was
like
just like a concert band, and I did like concert Glock there.
Nice.
And the only reason why I did concert Glock is because our orchestra program got cut.
Oh,
so
for real?
I joined band.
Nice.
So
Were you in orchestra?
yeah, I was in orchestra.
And then they cut that.
And then they cut orchestra
Wow.
because band was more popular. And then, of course, I joined advanced band under Glock since I already knew the piano.
I mean,
so.
band is better than org, in my opinion.
Actually, no, I agree with that. Like, after spending my time in orchestra in all of high school,
Yeah.
all of middle school,
And then
I
joined
definitely do.
Cal Band.
And after, like, doing band stuff, I definitely do agree that
Band is better.
band is better. Like, at least in more social experience, band is better. But,
Mhm.
like, if you, like, come into terms of, like, I don't know,
Wait, what did you play during orchestra?
violin.
Nice.
Yeah, the usual. Like, almost every other Asian child.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Oh, well, I like just play drums. Like, I never play piano, so I guess that's one non-Asian aspect of me.
Okay, but drums are great. So
Yeah,
like,
drums are the best.
yeah.
We're the heart of the band.
Honestly, yeah, you're the metronome of the band.
We're the heartbeat of the band.
Exactly. And like we have
So
a joke
we're
here.
Wait, what is the joke?
Essentially, like you know how like we have to technically follow the conductor.
Yeah.
Well, like if we speed up or we slow down, compared
Everyone
to
else
the
has to follow suit.
everybody else follows us instead of the conductor. So the metronome can't be wrong if you are the metronome.
Oh shit! It's like that Drake meme where it's like, oh no, the tapping head meme.
Oh yeah.
Can't mess up the metronome if you are the metronome.
Exactly.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That was a throwback meme. Like that was like
Yeah, that's an
2016.
ancient meme.
It feels like yesterday, honestly.
Honestly, it
the
does.
The meme timeline is like so
Yeah,
fast.
memes like go in and out of like popularity very fast.
Yeah.
Like Area 51 memes, like
Wait, oh yeah, that was a thing.
yeah, that was a
wait,
thing.
wait, is it? Wait,
It's slowly coming back though.
Wait, isn't it happening like really soon?
It's in 8 days. It's on
Okay.
the 20th.
Do you think there's enough momentum to like
I
bring
don't
it back?
know. I don't know. We kind of killed that meme way too early.
Yeah, we
so
really did.
We
And honestly, like whatever they're hiding in Area 51, like the government has like enough time to like transport it elsewhere. So
exactly like if they're hiding anything anyway, we just blew our fucking cover.
I
so,
know. So like,
yeah.
this probably just be like sand and shit. That's all there is.
Yeah.
So big sad.
I really want to go to Area 51.
No,
I was originally gonna buy a ticket for the meme.
Wait, there's tickets to Area.
Or like to fly to like Las Vegas
okay.
and then drive to Area.
I was like
51.
Area 51.
No, it was not like an actual ticket. But like none of my friends wanted to go.
Yeah.
For obvious reasons.
I mean, it's like just a meme.
So now I can't go, because then I don't have anybody to go with.
Aw, now we can't find the soap that like 10 out of 10 doctors recommend.
Yeah, the toothpaste that 10 out of 10
10
doctors
dentists recommend.
Oh my god. Or the Red Bull that actually gives you wings.
Holy fuck.
But like yeah, those kinds of things.
You're a mystery.
Oh, they're a mystery.
Big sad.
Sad reacts. Big sad. Big sad.
It's like we can't kill memes early on. We should like just do another one, but like
I
the
mean, it's
next
slowly
day.
picking up momentum again. Like,
Really?
if you browse through Reddit, like,
Okay, sure.
the number of Area 51 memes are slowly popping up again. And I think it's just in time for, like, the raid. Like, once it hits like, critical mass,
Critical mass.
then, yeah.
Yeah.
The same thing happened last year in October for Spooktober memes.
Wait, oh yeah, the skeleton.
Yeah, the skeleton. Like, the skeleton memes died, like, October 3rd. And, like, we're nowhere near Halloween, and now Halloween memes are dead. So, which is tragic, honestly. But
Well, okay, they'll come
that's how
back.
memes go, yeah.
Also, like the Facebook event memes, they're a thing, right? Like
They
Facebook-
were a thing.
Like the one you did for Moffat, where like.
Oh yeah, Scream
so
and
like,
Moffat at the fifth
yeah,
floor,
so
yeah.
for context, was it like during finals week?
Yeah, so during finals,
during Dead Week.
Yeah.
Like, you would go to like the fifth floor, like the library,
which is the quiet floor, by the way. Nobody
quiet-
should talk in the quiet floor.
and
then we just scream,
yeah.
and people have done it, and it's starting to turn into a tradition where Now people will do it every semester.
Wait, you're the one who started it, right?
I didn't start it, actually. There was another event, but then there was no new event, so I started creating another event.
Wow.
And then I started making another event every semester. And
You created a meme. Well, it's like...
I carried on the meme, I guess.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
That's weird to say.
You revived it.
And hopefully, like, it'll start to turn into, like, a cultural phenomenon in Berkeley.
Mm-hmm.
For example, the Naked Run. Nobody knows
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like,
that thing.
you don't need a Facebook event for the Naked Run. People just do the Naked Run.
Yeah.
Right? So hopefully screaming in a quiet floor
Mm-hmm.
in the library will also turn into one of those.
Do you think the traditions here, like, screaming in, like, the library during Dead Week, or, like, don't step in the seal because you won't get a 4.0, do you think those are, like, too, like, focused on academics? Like, some of like, the traditions or, like, the mindsets here? Like,
Oh, yeah. Berkeley is definitely a very academically focused school.
Yeah.
And, like...
I was very surprised that we were a D1 school, honestly.
Oh, yeah, for football, yeah. I was very surprised that we're fucking D1.
Yeah.
Okay, but we suck. I mean, the men's teams suck, but the women's teams are amazing.
Yeah.
But it sucks that the women's teams don't get as much recognition as the men's team. But, like, that's a whole other can of worms.
Sure, yeah. And we're running out of time. Wait, what time is it right now?
It's 49.
Okay, so we can go on for a little bit.
A little bit? Okay,
So
just
about
let me know when...
academics.
Okay, academics, yeah. So Berkeley is a very academically focused school. Research is a big thing. Hell, industry is a big thing. Starting your own company is a big thing.
Yeah.
But...
I mean, that's just part of who we are.
Yeah, that's just a part of Berkeley. And I argue that it's also, like, a part of other schools, too. Like, stepping on the seal and then not getting a 4.0. That tradition isn't unique to Berkeley.
Oh,
Other
for real?
students, or not other students, but also other universities also have something similar to that vein.
For real?
Yeah, for real.
Yeah. Wow. I thought it was just like a Berkeley thing. I
thought it was a Berkeley thing, too.
That's why I'm like, when talking about, like, when people think that, oh, it's just happening at Berkeley, all these, like, negative things on
Yeah, and I think that's true for, like, a lot of college students. They go into their university, they think, oh, this one, like, ritual that they do is always going to be just for that university, but they don't realize that just like memes, these things spread. And these things spread to, like, all other universities. Cal has it. I think UCLA has one. All the UCs, for that matter, have one.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily a unique thing.
I mean, maybe UCLA has their own 4.0 hill, too.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, just these sorts of things that, oh, do this, you'll get a 4.0. Or do this, you won't get a 4.0.
Yeah.
I think that getting or not getting the grade you want is universal in all universities.
Yeah, it is.
So...
I think we just have to be more, like, like, aware of that and just not, like, blame everything on like, the institution.
Exactly.
Because that is a problem, I feel.
There are things, though, that the institution can do better, but those are mostly overshadowed by other things that people think it's the institution's fault.
I mean, like, housing here is probably, like, one more specific.
Oh, yeah, housing here is really bad, but I think UC Santa Cruz also has a really bad housing problem.
Yeah. So.
But it is interesting in that I believe UC Santa Cruz and UC Berkeley are one of the only two that have, like, these housing issues. For example, my friend who goes to UCLA has, I think, guaranteed housing for 3 or 4 years.
Oh, shit.
Which is, like, amazing to me.
Yeah.
And, like...
amazing to anyone.
I feel like the housing crisis in Berkeley, people... I think it actually is a Berkeley problem. Or more...
It is. Because we are, like... It is part of our campus, because we're so, like... We're, like, in the middle of the city.
Yeah, or at least a Bay Area problem. Like,
that is true.
So, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so...
It's just figuring out those things that are university-specific versus
and just
cultural.
figuring out, like, which ones are, like, not... Because when you do those things where you, like, blame everything on the institution, you kind of scare away a lot of new students.
Oh, yeah, and that's, like, another can of worms that we can open, too.
But, like, I think
we don't have time.
We don't have time, unfortunately. But, all right, Ervin, do you have any last words for me or the audience? Just want to close it out?
Go Bears!
Go Bears. Fuck Stanford.
Fuck Stanford!
All right.
Yeah.
All right,
well,
thanks so much.
Thank you so much for having me. This is a pleasure. It was great
sure.
to talk to you, man.
All right, for sure.
Go Bears.
All right. See you all later.